I'd like to bring this meeting to order. This is the DPW Building Committee meeting. Today is Monday, March 10th, and it's about 5:08. So the first thing that we have on the agenda, we'll do a roll call for our votes.
Yeah, no, just so she knows.
Who's here?
All right, Dan Salvucci.
David Cook.
Bruce Martin.
Dennis Smith.
Rick Anderson.
Dave LeMay.
Tom Garrity, CMS.
Scott Luker, CMS.
Mary Beth Carter, Town Administrator. Okay, so the first item on the agenda is the meeting minutes of January. Erica?
It's February 10th.
February 10th. Has everyone had a chance to review them? Or would you like to table those, or?
No, I think we should, they were emailed in advance.
They were.
Make a motion to accept as presented.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Abstain.
Aye.
That's enough.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, and then next we'll go with an update from CMS.
Sounds good. To start, I'll just give you an overview of the work that got done in February into the first week of March. We had a pretty good month. We had a focus on the administration wing, finishing up the rough-in so that walls could be closed in. We had inspections from the town, or the rough inspection sign-offs for electrical, plumbing, building, and gas. They've commenced on the drywall and cement board installation. They've been taping the drywall, and they've been installing wall tile. They started in the women's locker room, right, Tom?
Correct, yeah.
And they'll be continuing on the walls so that they can progress with finishes, like plumbing finishes, and finish up with the floor tile. In the vehicle maintenance and vehicle storage bays, they've been an ongoing rough-in work and some finish work and plumbing, electrical, HVAC, and fire protection. They had the overhead doors delivered in February, and the openings are substantially complete. They're working on, finishing up the panels and the trimming those out, and the springs and operators will be coming up. So that'll get finished up within the next few weeks. Just on the exterior, they finished up the brick masonry work.
Frank, hold on. Yeah, Frank. We're at a meeting. We got a meeting tonight.
You're interrupting the meeting. In a live call.
Yeah. Okay, all right, okay. Mary Beth is running it, but you coming? Because you have second in command. Okay, bye-bye. He's on his way. He didn't realize it wasn't on his calendar.
Uh-oh.
Sorry
Want me
for
to
the
wait for Frank, or
interruption.
you want me to keep going and then just answer
No,
any
we
questions?
should keep going.
Yeah, keep going. Sure, keep going.
Okay. Just on the exterior, brick is substantially complete with minor punch list left, and they just have to infill an area of wall that was non-conforming. There was a section of panels that were left out due to the backup wall framing was
At a different elevation,
Just
the height
yeah.
was different than. Rick was actually the one who caught it. The tube steel is supposed to have different elevations, so rather than brick going there, it's going to be a piece of paneling.
yeah. So the as far as I know, there's nothing that's going to be visible, right? This tube steel gets covered in.
Oh, it's gonna be visible. I'd definitely like to talk about this later.
Okay, yeah, right now it's a non-conforming item, and we're tracking it in the meeting minutes. Just in terms of what's left for brick, there's a small area there that has to get filled in. It's below a window. They had left it out thinking that because of the way the tube steel came, that the window was gonna come down further. But it's
window
not.
was the right height. The window was sized correctly. The framing came up at a different elevation. So it was kind of something I probably should have caught, falls on page, but we're gonna rectify it. We can talk about it, Rick, if you want after.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, and then they'll have to wash down all the brick, where we're waiting for warm weather for that, so they'll do like a final wash down of the brick, and they also substantially finished the panel work, a lot of the trim on the panels and the glazing that was left out last month. And then recently they installed last week they installed the gas lines to the site. So there'll be some continuation of site work going on next month to patch up the binder.
They're actually doing that today. They run like National Grid's still out there right now.
And we'll see maybe some miscellaneous site improvements this spring, with the rest of it being, waiting until the green building's down. In terms of just inspections over the last month, we had one inspection from GCI for masonry
He's showing
inspection.
us the window.
We just are showing on the monthly report that we've been communicating with HKA and all parties on a weekly basis, a daily basis as needed. Nothing to report as far as anything that consultants or anybody brought up over the last month. We've updated the contractor list and consultant list that have been observed on site over the last month. Some new faces, some of the same. We have a few more project submittals that came through in the last month. We're up to 269 total with one pending action. Same number as last month that need to be resubmitted for the record. RFIs are up to 95, and we have 2 pending action at the moment, which hopefully will get resolved within the next week. Greg is out of town for about a week. I think he's back next week, so Mike is our point of contact over there for over the next week if anything comes up, like emergency-wise.
I think he's planning to make a site visit this week too at some point.
Yeah, he's there once a week. If he's just noticing the red on here, we have a final version in Tom's trailer, but we'll just I'll send this out after the meeting.
I left the document open. I apologize.
Anyway, so for upcoming work next month, we're gonna see. We'll finish the overhead door installation. Obviously, we'll be continuing with the mezzanine, main electric, and IT room. Kind of building out those rooms a little bit more on the finish side. They have been inspected, and there's wall board going up in those rooms, so the rough-in's substantially complete. We'll have just continuing some overheads, like above ceiling rough ends and finish work. Once they do prime paint, they'll put the track system in, the ceiling track system in, and they'll do cuts for the tiles and areas that have drops, like sprinkler drops and things like that, just to start their finish work. Overhead doors will get finished within the next couple weeks. So they are 100% sheetrocked in the admin area, and they're taping throughout. So they'll be installing sheetrock beginning and hanging. They've actually started this, right, Tom?
Yeah, so as far as that goes, the sheetrock's all done in the admin. We had an electrical inspection for the low voltage today up in the mezzanine, so sheetrock will commence tomorrow up there. And yes, the guys are taping throughout. The vehicle storage bays have held off just to get that grout. It actually started today. once that guy's finished tomorrow, Mike Mason, he will be out of the way for the sheetrock to go in. So that will be sheetrock probably by the end of the week. Sprinkler pipe is going. They're probably about roughly 75 to 80%, 85% done in the vehicle storage. They're currently running pipe, sprinkler pipe in the vehicle maintenance bays. And they actually brought in a couple more heads today, so the manpower is up for them. They had an inspection too last week. I think we mentioned the gas inspection. I'm trying to think what it was.
This didn't synchronize with my computer. We had this up to date, but so some of this stuff is from last month. We just we'll send out the final version here after the meeting. I think that's about it. I mean, as far as
Well, so there's some roof work that needs to be done. I talked to Alex, the kid with Silktown. It's not a lot. It's just the witches' hats and the roof caps. Now that the weather is like this, they told me they'd be out here this week.
we got roof edge metal.
Yep. Witches' hats, roof caps, roof edge metal, and then some of that loose roof rubber. Just some of the details up there.
Yes, Frank.
I'm trying to remember the questions I was going to ask.
Any
Answering
questions
some
on the
questions I was gonna ask, huh?
Any questions on the look at schedule?
I know that, I'm sorry I missed the last meeting, but nobody else wants pneumonia. But I know in the past meetings, we've talked about that the project is falling behind. Have we made up any time at all? And if so, how much more do we have to make up so that the weather's coming good? We should be dealing with mostly.
Apologies, lost day after a lost week.
Oh, gosh.
I would think that with the weather being the way it is right now, we'd want to make sure that the envelope to the whole building is taken care of. So then we can do the inside work. I mean, if the weather's here, let's take advantage of it.
Yep.
Right.
Well, in terms of the schedule, the claim that we had previously brought up, which is 16, started at DCO 15, went to 16. It was a claimant for external general conditions, winter conditions. It started at 150 grand over the last month and a half or so. We've been in discussions with Paige, and it kind of was some of the people in the working group meeting, the weekly meeting, to discuss the exposure for some of the early
Meeting notices.
kind of some of the early delay to the project,
posting it.
and and
These
some of
just came
the
in at 4:30.
a couple minor delays that Paige has been tracking in his update schedule. Right now, we have a pending PCO 16R4 for a value of an add of $55,577 to the project. This is where we've gotten with Paige to settle this out on the extended general conditions. He doesn't think he's not showing a recovery schedule that he can recover from May 22nd to July 31st. We've reviewed this with the city, with the town's council, and there's a document that was prepared and sent to Paige as part of the latest PCO that they would sign. I heard from Tony that it sounds like they're sending that over, signed, and we'll be uploading it if they didn't do it today. I would expect that would probably get uploaded this week. I think all in all, I think it's a good compromise for everybody. And I think there was some liability potentially on the fact that the project from when they originally bid it got delayed.
Scott, let me stop you there.
Yeah.
There is a question, serious question, of whether or not
liability would attach for us. In order to avoid going down that road, Kevin and I worked with Mary Beth and with council to come up with an agreement that compensates for the delayed start in some degree, but also preserves our rights for completion and liquidated damages should it go beyond the agreed upon end. It's the best situation for both. If the committee wants to go into an executive session next week and talk about the potential for litigation, we could do that, but I think it's a waste of time, and I think it just throws up some barriers to getting this thing done. Tempers were running a little hot, they've cooled down, and I think we just need to move ahead and get this job done. What we're going to pay is substantially less than what we're going to be credited for unit credits that are coming down the road, so I have no problem with the money.
There'll be no, Frank, there'll be no future, if for any reason they're running late again, for whatever reason, they're gonna eat the cost.
It's based on cause. If they're at fault, then they're subject to liquidated damages. If they're not, they're not.
Well, but the question is, who's at fault if materials don't get here in time? Yeah, like we
The
have issues
contract
with
is
the,
required to purchase and secure materials.
right, so it's their issue, so
It's their responsibility to get
what
it.
issue could the town have? What are we in fear of, if anything?
If they go to take down the building and we find a radioactive waste site under the green building, we own it.
Okay. Been there before, Frank.
So my input too, I agree with Frank that this is the best path forward. I have been adamantly opposed to all of the PCOs before this. Anything including winter conditions, I think was absurd. And like I said, I don't want to go backwards, but I just want to say that the contractor is responsible for a timely completion of the product that we ordered. And right now, I'm pretty confident that the schedule can be met, but the schedule has been pushed way ahead to meet what I consider a substandard performance by this general contractor. So, but that's where we are.
And I will say that Rick has been certainly diligent about observations and questioning the process. You got to look back to what started. Apparently, we screwed up in a way. We didn't know, since we've done it every other time we borrowed money, that we had to have a separate election for that one particular question. Never heard of it before. No one else I know has ever heard of it before. But that was the decision of bond council, and we couldn't borrow the money. If we couldn't borrow the money, we couldn't pay for the project.
And then our legislative representatives went down the wrong road for quite a long time.
Yep.
And that's what delayed the project.
So when you look at it all, I think that they're doing a pretty good job of, I don't want to say catching up, but wrapping it up and moving forward. I mean, we were frustrated with the pace, but means and methods belong to the contractor. He's got a beginning and an end. As long as he meets it, whether we like it or not, it's his call.
Yeah, so just in terms of where we are kind of with a net credit coming back for change order 6, that would be the next change order. We don't have a change order this month. Last one was change order 5. We have the scheduled unit prices credit not being used. That's $302,750 coming back. There was approved PCO number 18, which was a no-cost change to amend the completion date to May 22nd, 2025. That was before this other PCO 16, which will adjust the date also. But this was just to correct the error that the amended completion date for April 21st by a change order 1 that really should have been May 22nd to be 395 calendar days. which is what's in the contract for them to do the job, so. We just talked about PCO 16, R4, I don't, that number should be good, the 55,577. And then, we are working towards getting a finalized price for PCO 17, which we had talked about previously. That's for some security system modifications. Most of the cost associated with that is to change the basis of design system to a Genetec platform. Genetec is it's an access control and camera system that is used in other town buildings. The original pricing that we got assumed it would be a standalone system in the building. We've worked with, set some meetings up with Josh McNeil from this town IT and determined that there was some existing infrastructure and basically expansion capability of the current Genetec system. So we had a meeting with the electro contractor and their sub and Josh, and kind of we finalized the scope discrepancies, and we got two options back from them. They weren't totally complete. There's another kind of a additional camera system that Josh is bringing online now. So the latest and greatest PCO that we should get back will have the Genetec system with the Veritech or Vera something cameras. And did I write it in here? I don't know. And it should be down here.
Yeah, basically, they thought they were designing a new system.
Yeah.
That's the confusion. That's why they came with that huge proposal. And in fact, we're all interconnected.
Also, the original credit we got back was like very low, so we asked them to give us like a legitimate credit pack. So hopefully, we'll see something back in the credit range of 25,000+, 20 to 25.
They charged us for
more.
Mercedes and gave us a Pinto.
Right.
Well, the original PCO was 91,000 they wanted.
Yes.
Right?
Yep.
And so it is now a credit?
There won't be any credit for this. This is still an add to the project. Going to Genetec from the system that's in the design documents will be an add. Genetec is a more robust system. It has a lot more features. It's almost only used in police, public safety, and schools and stuff like that. From what we've seen, so we see a lot of it. But the system that was in the specs, there was no, when we met earlier on, it didn't come up. There was no proprietary systems brought up and stuff. So I think it's probably at the end of the day, it's going to be, as long as we get a good credit back for the basis, the system that's in the plans and specs,
Yeah.
then we'll.
Yeah, we're going to get back more than we're going to
Yeah.
pay. And unfortunately, we didn't have enough input from technology in the beginning. And that hurt us too.
Surprise.
Well, he is short-staffed now since Hanson rated our
No,
system.
No, you didn't go.
You didn't go.
He didn't go.
There was some confusion in the beginning as to when and what was going on. And needless to say, we resolved it.
Oh, good.
I would say that we may be looking at around 150 to 175,000 net add at the end of when we get to change order 6 from those deducts and adds.
Really? I thought plus about 150,000?
Yeah.
My conversation with Josh, that 91,000 shouldn't be anything.
That's not just technology. He's talking about the interchange.
Sounds like bundling a few pieces.
Yeah.
Bundle.
Right?
It was my understanding from Josh that we had the components already in place.
No.
That we're going to supplement this. No? Okay.
He's bringing in a fiber connection off the street to connect some of the buildings. He's already has that in process.
We actually have fiber there right now. We just have to extend it.
I think contract.
But we need all the door controls. We need all the switches and boxes that Genetec puts in to relay all the information back to the system. And we need probably an additional site license. But it'll all wash out. We're going to be under budget more.
Yeah, definitely. We have, I want to explore, if you're ready to move on to the budget, I can kind of transition into that because
By all means.
this is kind of a draft budget update because I moved some money around. So I just want to get approval. But with the 3 invoices we received this month, we can do it now, actually, if you want. And then I'll roll back into this. You wanna read them off, Frank, or you want me to?
Okay, let's see. Page Building Construction is our requisite pay rec 12, 1,622,866. The good news about that money is it means something's getting done.
Yep.
What'd you say it was? What?
1,622,866.
I got it up on the screen too.
CMS 45,000. Maybe we can chew them down a buck. I'm sure Neil will be thrilled to hear that. And then ADS, of course, everybody's favorite ground people, $1,440. Frankly, the ADS, I think we did okay with them considering where we started.
Yeah.
And then if you want the detail, did we send out the
This, that
Yeah.
up? That went out by email to
Okay.
everyone. Yeah.
So all the details there, we're pretty much on schedule for adjusting our date. I can tell you that every analysis of the pay rec is thorough. We're not getting ahead of the game. And we're as protected as we can be in terms of payment and performance. So I'd like to ask for a motion to approve Page Building Construction for $1,622,866.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
And nobody's more familiar with that here than Scott and Rick.
Well, we do go by it, we do a job site meeting every week, Tom and I walk the site and kind of talk about things, progress and where we are, so I think, CMS is doing a great job making sure we don't get ahead of the money.
Okay, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
8-0. Construction Monitoring Service, $45,000. Discussion?
Motion, Dan.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Same vote. And ADS Environmental Engineering, $1,440. Everybody understands what that is, right? It's just dealing with the LSP on site and making sure we're doing what we're supposed to do so we don't have another Conley School fiasco. Any discussion? No motion, please.
Rick already motioned.
Rick.
I'll second it.
Okay. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
It's unanimous.
As Frank was saying, we're doing well on the environmental consulting because our budgetary number on that was 174,000, and we've only spent 37,986. So really, all we have left is the green building in the front, so there's something associated with that.
I can tell you, when we first started digging, I was nervous.
We all were.
Yeah.
Clean site.
And just to roll back to the budget, so we'll go over this furniture thing next. But we had some updates in the FF&E budget. Our budgetary pricing on the furniture went up once we added all the shelving in, and we made some changes to the floor plan, the furniture floor plan, and just got the finishes and whatnot that was what the department was agreed with and what they like. So we originally had 150,000 on furniture. I added 75,000, and I took 50,000 out of commissioning because we came in at like 25,000 for commissioning from the original budgeted 75,000. So I'm proposing to adjust commissioning down to 25,000 and add the 50 into FF&E and the furniture. That brings it up to 200. And then I wanted to bring another 25,000 in as well, and I was going to bring that in from contingency. So that's what I did, and this is the adjustments to contingency down here. We have originally 829,290. With this, we have minus 47,919. So which brings the total contingency left to 781,371. With the anticipated credit back from change order 6, you can expect at least 100 to 150,000 on top of the 781. So very good shape at this point in the project for contingency. The questions for the committee are just, are we comfortable bumping up the furniture and equipment number? And it may even want to be bumped up more as we get into the equipment and such. We have I can bring up.
Is it true Bruce worked the window into that deal?
Yeah, the window opens that. Sawzall.
Where's my?
You got a
That's a
question?
question, Frank.
Rick?
So, yes, Mr. Chairman, I'm a little concerned about taking money out of commissioning and putting it into furniture. To me, those are two.
I'm waiting to hear more
different-
about commissioning.
We learned a lesson when we built a police station here in the town, and it wasn't that long ago. Commissioning was not done properly, and we paid the price for many years.
Well, as I understand it, commissioning is bid now?
We send it out to different commissioning
Right.
agents, and the pricing we got back was 20,200.
Have we
So
selected,
I want to keep 25,000 in there.
have we selected someone?
Yes.
And who did we select?
Paul Seacus.
Why you use the word "we"?
From-
It's the papal we.
Last month we brought it up at the committee meeting. I just forget who his company is now because he moved he started his own company. I should mention the name. He's Total Building System Consultants. We've used Paul for a long
Seacus?
time. Paul Seacus, and he knows what to look for. I mean, the system you have here is pretty. It's not a super complicated system, but obviously it should be. It's good to have commissioning services done, and it's also. I think we slid by in the last code, but in the current code, it's a requirement.
And the cost is what? The total cost?
Right here, it's $20,200.
Well, a lot less than the last building we did, but unfortunately, we picked the wrong guy the last time.
Right, and then just as a follow-up, what part of the furnishing equipment, do we need to add 50% to the budget for? What was missing?
Well, there's a lot of areas for shelving, so we added we're trying to maximize the shelving. We're trying to. There was some miscellaneous stuff for that wasn't wasn't shown on the furniture plan for like the water area, like minor stuff, table, work table, and some miscellaneous stuff. I can bring it up here. I have so here's our latest price for shelving. They broke it down two ways. So you can see there's several shelving units here, 76 of them. Or these are, what are these? Label holder, sorry. This is, so 48 by, there's 19 48 by 24 deep by 74 high units. And then we have, let's see here.
And then we have a $3,300 chain hoist that we really never
What is
brought
it?
to the committee.
Sorry?
There's a $3,300 chain hoist that was never brought up.
I'm bringing it up right now.
Oh,
So, it's,
That was what we discussed 2 weeks ago at a,
Wednesday meeting?
was it Wednesday? I thought it was 2 weeks ago.
Oh, yes.
It's kind of weak of that.
Wednesdays ago, yeah.
Rick brings up a point. It wasn't part of what we originally scoped out, but you have to remember the work we're doing here. I don't think a chain hoist is an unreasonable request in a DPW operation. The architecture is open. It's not going to cost us a lot of money to accommodate it.
I actually don't think they got it way
yeah,
back.
I mean, I'm not saying I'm opposed to a chain hoist, I'm just saying, the $75,000, I'm just looking for justification to transfer money out of commissioning to support any of these things.
let me show you this is where.
We could leave it in commissioning and take it out of contingency and see where we end up.
Well, I mean, if there's a surplus in commissioning,
Yeah.
I mean, then there's a surplus, right? So,
Here we go.
My point.
So just in terms of like our preliminary breakdown, I don't know what this thing is here. I gotta get rid of this thing.
page break.
I don't know how to get rid of that.
Oh, there you go.
Oh, it's pulling it up.
You moved it too far.
Layers.
I hit a button and it's, I think it's supposed to go down. I'm gonna leave it there. There it goes. So here's how we broke it down. When we got the the preliminary budgetary quote from them, like I said, it didn't have the shelving in it, and there was just several meetings we had. We went to AIS. We looked at different options they had there. We looked at, what some of the stuff, how some of the stuff works now in certain rooms, and how it compares to the preliminary furniture plan that HKA had put together. So when we put this kind of our breakdown here, I put in, when we get the 62, I adjusted this. So we had like almost 70,000 for furniture, plus 9,000 for shelving. I plugged in some of the equipment that we got in pricing for, and to keep it within the 150. So there was some miscellaneous here that was just got us to the original 150 number that we had in here.
Right.
So if I bring up the latest one, this is kind of how we broke it down. So we had the 108 number for the adjusted furniture, and then the 18.5 for shelving. So I plugged those in here. Shelving, the
The Mason Furniture 108.
sorry, here's the shelving right here. So industrial shelving, that's this number here. This is the furniture here, and then this miscellaneous furniture equipment is just the extra that I put in here. So it wasn't, I wanted to get to an even number. The 225 is really like based on these commitments here. If I left everything else the same, it was like 211. So it's a 15,000 more.
Okay, thank you.
What did we end up with the windows? What did we do with the windows coverings?
We were gonna bring it to this meeting under new business.
Lose sight of that.
And so we're working with we gotta just keep continuing to work with Bruce for the equipment procurement, and if the committee is okay with the, I mean, I'm sure Bruce, if you know, if the committee has questions for us or Bruce, or Dave, I mean, they had some meetings with Chris Botello from WB Mason over the last few weeks, and Tom brought a board. They dropped this board off today.
Right.
This is like the floor plan, some 3D renderings, some of the actual physical samples.
Yeah, I don't think we really want to get in there and start counting chairs and desks. I mean, we know it's a decent building, it's a good-sized building. It's gonna cost some money to equip it.
Yeah.
As long as we're buying the appropriate stuff and it fits in the design, I'm okay with it. And
Yeah.
I don't think anybody here is gonna want to go shopping.
Well, I think the end users are the ones that should be
Right.
looking at that, so.
Exactly.
I'm comfortable with the process and how it's gone along, just
Okay.
some of the numbers come as a surprise.
Are we using any of the, like in the office, for the admin building, desks and stuff like that? We reusing?
I hope
by
not.
No.
I hope not. When we
Nothing.
started down this road, a suggestion was made, a person shall remain nameless, but that we could go out and pick up some used shelves and panels and, whoa, guys, we're building a new building. We want this thing to last. If we want it to last, we want to put the right stuff in it.
I'm talking about desks.
You know how old those desks are?
Huh? I don't, yeah, I'm just asking.
Dan?
Some of them are hand-me-downs from the school system.
And some of them came from Burlington, Lexington, Mass.
Yeah.
On the back of a dump truck.
Okay.
Thank you.
So I don't think it's unreasonable to expect that if we're going to build a new building, we're going to equip it properly. And if there's any surplus, we'll dispose of it the way we're supposed to. We'll make it available to whomever in the corporate structure needs it. And beyond that, auction it off or sell it. But I want to start out right.
Okay.
Is there still room to get more shelving? You know, we looked at shelving layouts and they look good. And, you know, Dave and I looked at them with Chris, was it? And it looked good. But we were looking at the cages that are going into the large garage where the trucks all parked. And there's going to be two 22-foot by 8-foot cages in there.
Right.
So we'll need, in those, right now we have cabinets, but they're really, it doesn't work well. But where we store all the chainsaws and everything in
Well,
cabinets.
In a cage, you don't want a cabinet. You want shelving so
Yeah,
you
we
can
want
move things
shelving.
in
Yeah,
and
we were
out.
talking about it I was actually talking about with the foreman. And like shelving would be good. You line up all your chainsaws. You know, each cage would probably need a work table. Like maybe not as rugged as the one I sent you before, Scott. That was like for the maintenance garage. That was really rugged, but something where they can sharpen chainsaws.
Yep.
We have a piece of equipment that mounts to a table that sharpens the chainsaws and stuff like that. So.
Yeah, we should go through that whole equipment list that we have, and then double check lead times. The last we checked, we were good, so we still should have time to. But I'd like to order stuff. I'd like to order stuff soon, like this month.
Okay.
Definitely the
I agree,
furniture.
if you want to get it in time.
Yeah, we have till like the middle of next month before we need to. If we want the furniture in say June, I'd say order now. That way, hopefully the schedule gets a little better. We can get stuff in there a little bit sooner. But again, we should just work on the equipment, and we can make some minor adjustments as needed. And if there's anything,
Maybe make that a priority over the next week or two to pin that
You know,
stuff
we'll
down.
get together, maybe just like with Chris, the way Chris helped us before with a little layout of the cages, you know, and some area for shelving, some area to hang, you know, like just regular hand tools, shovels and all that stuff, some kind of hangers.
yeah, okay. Sounds good. Any questions on the budget? Or is it okay if we leave?
Floor's open. Anybody have any
You
questions?
might say what I was going to say on your behalf.
All I was gonna suggest is maybe the subcommittee could get the budget in advance of this meeting, so we'll be a little more prepared
I
to
agree.
support your decisions for transferring money.
Mm-hmm. No
And
problem.
if you sent an email that kind of described what you just told the committee, I
Yep.
think for the subcommittee, it'd be a little more helpful for you to have an ally in this meeting
Yep.
to support your decision.
Well, in fairness to the whole process, I got the latest furniture thing Friday, and obviously the rec was signed late last week, so
It is
takes
a
me,
timing
it
thing,
takes
so.
me a few days to kind of compile everything, get the payment recommendation letter, make sure that's signed before I try to get that first before I start updating, so I know what you're saying, and I will see if I can get you some stuff.
So we're gonna get you some pep drinks.
I was just gonna add that what you said, the email or some kind of justification, I think would help everyone too. Like I don't want to get into the weeds too far with the, maybe the chain flow was more money than first was supposed to be, but I trust you guys are vetting it, the first committee, and then I think for record, you just want to have
We have
CMS is on board with this.
We'll check with the different the different equipment vendors that we've already been working with to get a comparable price for the chain fall to make sure that that's a good. Yeah.
The other furniture too, I'm sure everything's gone up since the initial budget.
And I want to stress too that I definitely defer to the end users on
Yes.
what they need to operate this facility. I just want to make sure we're delivering.
We're doing it practically.
Yeah, but if we order it now and they say, okay, we have it, when do you want it? And we're not ready to receive it or set it up yet.
You can deal with that, Dan. We'll arrange for when to be delivered, and
We'll
in
coordinate.
the worst of cases, we'll store it.
I don't think we'll.
But I don't think we're
Where
gonna
would we
have
store
to.
it?
Yeah, they're usually good about that kind of thing.
No, they'll.
I don't think we have to, Dan, but if we do, we will.
I just don't want us to the point where we're getting it and all of a sudden we're not ready to put it up, the shelving up or the furniture in.
It's all coordination.
Yeah, so
Oh.
we'll see.
That's what we're paying $45,000
Is that what it's for?
on CMS.
Hopefully with tariffs and things like that, none of the pricing we have on the equipment's
Yeah,
changed.
nothing from Canada, nothing from Mexico.
The goal obviously is just to work
Scary.
within these numbers. And then obviously if something is brought up that's gonna fall outside of that, then we bring it to the committee.
Okay, we flogged this dead horse
Yeah.
enough.
I think that's pretty much
Uh,
it.
New business is the next topic. Is there anything anyone feels they need to bring up?
Window coverings, is that?
Oh, thank you. Windows. Windows. What are we doing with the windows?
So did you upload some pictures of that window opening where the front of the building is?
Do we have that on here, Tom?
Yeah, keep going.
Okay.
It's
Is this the trim?
So
keep going, Scott.
That is
he hasn't got the, but as he's looking for it, just, as part of the due diligence, as part of, building committee member, I find it's important to go to the job site on a weekly basis. Tom, it takes the time, every time I go there to walk the site. If I have a question, if I have a follow-up, he's there to take the questions. So several times I've
There it
been,
is. That one right there.
when I get
Oh,
to
we're
the
back to
building, that's
this?
my shadow
Is that what you're
probably.
talking about?
Yeah. I see a piece of plywood,
Always
a
talk about
red
windows
flag
and
goes
stuff
off in
and
my
admin.
mind.
But it's gonna be painted to look like a brick.
Listen,
Yeah, they get.
the problem with this is one of communication, and this is where I want to talk about this. I want to talk about this a little bit from the aesthetics, right? What the final product is going to look like. We're paying $20 million for a new DPW facility. There is design, there is a depiction of what this building looks like in the blueprints. So on several occasions, when Tom and I sat in front of this, scratching our heads to try to determine why this was infilled with studs and sheathing, we went back to the blueprints, and the blueprints clearly show that the glass should meet with the brick. And what happened, and we didn't find this out until a weekly job meeting, when the general contractor said, look, Rick, there was a mistake. The mistake was they framed it wrong. And instead of having the brick go to that glass, the framing allowed the brick to be lower. So now, the problem that I have, the biggest problem I have a little problem with what Paige has determined is the best resolution for this. And I'll talk about the resolution, is the fact that they're going to have a insulated panel in place of that visible plywood. So
Why
it's
not re-brick it?
Right.
No, they are.
I think well, so the brick is gonna go on after the panel.
They're gonna tooth in the brick. The panel is what they're gonna put in for the insulated panel is what's behind all this brick. It's just not behind this. So they're gonna fill in the panel behind the brick to match the other backup wall, seal it so it's sealed. You're never gonna see the panel. It's just the insulation backup wall. Put the clip into the brick, and then they'll tooth in the brick, and they'll move this assembly at the bottom down here up. They'll rebuild that here, and then that trim piece will come across at that window sill. So it's not gonna
It's not gonna be a visible panel.
be a
Right.
That was what I was.
That's what Tony, that's what Tony
No, it's
said
gonna
at
be brick.
the
Tony did
meeting.
say that at the meeting.
But,
On Wednesday, right?
yeah, but we want to be damn sure in this particular instance that the seals are right, because we start getting water behind that window,
Right.
we're gonna have problems.
No, they'll open up the wall and they'll seal it all up, just like any other panels that go together. There's a detail that they'll have where if there's no tongue and groove, how it can go together. So as long as they have like backing to screw it in and everything, they'll use
It's gonna put DPW dog patch.
and then they'll seal it with an approved sealant.
So did they describe the way they were gonna do this to you?
That's how I interpreted it when they told me about it. And that
So it's just a verbal, they haven't sent
Yeah,
you
it's
any
just on the meeting
a
and
revised drawing, supplemental RFI?
it's right now it's in the non-conforming. We keep it in non-conforming, and anything that's non-conforming needs to be closed out from the architect. So they need to sign off on it, review it, make sure that all the conditions are met, and as it's being put back together. So
So are you comfortable the way that the general contractor made this mistake and didn't communicate to our on-site representatives
I
of
think-
the mistake?
I think what happened was is Peter, the super, didn't pick it up because the steel from the inside was lower, and then at some point what you're saying is they should have just brought up and said, hey guys, made a mistake.
Yeah, let's talk
this
about
is
the
what we're
ways
gonna
to
do and
take it.
stuff like that.
There's a process,
I agree,
and that's
yeah.
in my mind.
Well, actually, he did us a favor putting the board up because you couldn't miss it.
Yeah, there's really nothing. They would have had to fix it at some point. 'cause
Lucky he didn't draw
it
bricks
just
on the
would
other
have been
side
off.
of the
Like, they couldn't just put a metal panel in front of it.
Well, my
Pieces
biggest
of
problem
panel,
is the
yeah.
communication.
Yeah.
Right? A
Blackout.
mistake was
Yeah.
made. Immediately, there should have been a communication in bid doc that describes, an RFI on a proposed resolution, right? Not park the lull in front of it until they, can finally fix it.
Yeah.
Because for weeks, that's where the lull's been parked. I agree with you.
It was in the
But
sun,
I
so,
agree with
you know.
Rick on that because they seem to take issue with the fact that Rick asked about it at our Wednesday morning Zoom meeting, and like it wasn't supposed to be asked at an open meeting, like it was supposed to be just asked
Was
one-on-one. in the-
entirely appropriate.
I'm not.
Of course, I think it wrenched Tony's gut to say, okay, we made a mistake.
Yes, I
But
think that's.
But I actually think that was a turning point in Tony's
I agree.
communication. I think that, part of the reason why we're moving forward beyond this, the big stumbling block was the general condition extension of time, so if this helped that, I'm fine with it, right? But I just think communication, when a contractor makes a mistake, I've made mistakes, everybody's made mistakes, but we talk about it in a way where we have a collective resolution, not a behind the scenes, let's try to make it look good, by the time, the keys are turned
Well,
over.
and what does the architect say? Do they,
And when was the architect on board with a mistake, do you know?
yeah.
I think it was brought up. I think they kind of picked up on it when you guys all brought it
Yeah.
up at the meeting. I don't think they had, they hadn't picked it up in their walks. I mean, that
I
area.
hard to believe, though.
That area wasn't that area covered for a
No,
while though?
but he
with
was
the,
on the stage and he took a picture of that from the
Yeah.
stage, and Greg did. So if anybody would know that that wasn't supposed to be there, the architect would be well ahead of me. So all I'm saying is, mistakes get made, but let's
Fix
hope
it.
there aren't more mistakes that aren't being communicated and collectively resolved, that's all.
Yeah.
I'm adamant that we're gonna get a $20 million project for $20 million.
And we are.
The only thing that they haven't brought up is what that tube being lower, if there's any impact to that. If it's, so we'll just make sure that structural signs off on it. If they have to cut the tube and move it up and re-weld
Right.
it, then they can do that. If it's fine where it is and it's gonna get covered in drywall, it's fine. But we follow through with all those questions and make sure that it's.
So the way it was described in the meeting
How
was,
long's that been like?
the structural steel was fabricated wrong, and everybody followed behind the mistake by
What's it
Right.
take to fix it?
material being in line with it, so.
No.
Yeah.
But when it's
And
all
like-
said and done, it will all be
What-
brick from the
at end of
eye.
day, what
Yep.
we
Just
see
gotta
is that
take
It'll match.
bottom
Right.
up, brick it, move it up top.
it's at the burden
They're
really
not,
of
they're not gonna just go
Page,
brick it.
because they have to fix it, so it's gonna cost them more
Kick
money
out the brick
than,
so that they
you know,
can
than
lace
if
it
they
back
hadn't
in.
framed it in and stuff like that.
You know what I mean?
Oh,
Because
yeah.
I could've just
Yeah.
bought a panel in to begin with and had the brick guy do it once, so it gets done twice, basically.
Okay.
Take that apart.
And then I just want to bring up a couple more things Kevin brought up in an email today when he said he couldn't be here. Mr. Chairman,
Where
could we
it
have
is.
one- we'll wait
I
till
don't think
then.
so. I mean,
It's gonna be.
Can we have a meeting?
One meeting, is there something else that you wanted to?
I just, we were talking about, Dan, and about how that's gonna, the correction's gonna be made. They're gonna take that apart and lace the brick back in.
Yes, it won't be, they'll tooth the brick back in, they'll take it apart, so it'll be seamless. It won't be a joint there.
Take the plywood apart, you mean?
No, the brick.
Everything
Brick,
comes
the
out.
brick.
They're gonna
You're gonna have to open up the brick to fit it in.
And that wasn't the resolution we heard at that weekly meeting. Really, so. That's good, I'm glad they are.
But that's one mistake you found. Are there others that we haven't seen?
Well, there's a couple I'm gonna talk a little bit about.
Good.
One of the other things that I've been talking about since November was the fact that we have structural steel that's not sitting on the foundation. So we talked about getting those base plates grouted, right? And it's been on the deficiency list for 3 months. Finally, in last week's meeting, the general contractor decided that is important, and we are gonna do it. And he apologized for not getting it done sooner. But right now, some of the places where that needs to be done are covered with drywall. So my direct question to the architect was, you had some concerns about a roof load transmitting some of the load to the outside panels if these plates aren't grouted. Are you less concerned now that these places are inaccessible? And the answer was no. So the answer, the general contractor, rightly so, said, if there's drywall blocking that from being done, it will be removed and that will be fixed. So as I said, there seems to be some definite beneficial movement on the GC to address.
And those are the things
Deficiencies.
we want on Tom's radar, so, because he's there every
It's been
day.
on Tom's radar for 3 months. So we looked at it last week, and we looked at some of the areas that.
No
that
matter
gotta be-
what, just so everyone knows, it was on a deficiency log, so unless they would have had to show us that it was finished, so they started the sheet rocket the day of or the day before you guys got there, and
It's all,
said, hey, did you guys grout those? No, we didn't. Oh, take it off, you know what I mean?
Right,
And they would have had to open it up anyways,
Right,
and if the walls were 100% complete and they did a test and it wasn't done, they would have ripped them all up. We could have tested as many as we wanted to, you know, because they didn't close out the deficiency. So
so what we try to do is get ahead of it, right? We try to tell them these things need to be done, you know, I mean.
yeah, and I think some of that, the reason it's just didn't happen was because it's a trade that they were bringing in to do some other stuff around the last, week or so, and they were waiting for warmer weather and stuff. So.
Okay, and then two of the other things that Kevin brought up was his concern with the progress of the electrical. He's still very concerned about how far he believes that electrical is behind. And noticed, as well as the walk down Tom and I did, about the space between the office partition walls and the glazing. There's an open cavity. I don't know if you've been to the job and you're in someone's office, there's a wall to the next office. But if you look around the side, there's an opening about, 6 inches big where the wall doesn't meet the glass. So it's just a concern that perhaps, you're gonna have some sound transmission from one office to the other. And
I think it's specifically between Dave's office and the commissioner's meeting room, where that wall, partition wall is, meets glass, there's a gap like this. Then between the commissioner's meeting room.
I
and
can't picture this. Do we have
and
a
the freight
photo?
hall.
I have a photo.
And do we know what's going there?
They make a product
Yeah,
for
there's a
that.
framing detail that
There's
goes.
a framing detail that goes in
There's
there.
gonna be acoustical insulation to address the sound.
Is it in here or no?
I don't believe it is. No, it was because it's from March, it was from last week.
I just like that detail, but they do make something for that, a wall to the glass.
Did
And I think you need some of it there with the drywall. I think it should be there now, so
No,
you may
I
have
was
to pull
thinking
back
that
some
I
of
was
it.
just talking
right,
about.
I would think there would be some subsurface
Yeah.
already in place. That's
Right.
why I thought it was unusual. So, I mean, the drywall is finished on the wall,
Facing
exposed,
that.
facing
Yeah,
the
yeah.
window.
Yeah, if you can stick your arm through.
In
the-
case anybody hasn't been inside, this is
They
just
can say hello.
Wave.
Yeah.
look at that.
Yeah, architects like that. That's what walls on the windows.
So basically, it's right here.
Yeah,
It's like where this wall,
Oh, I
it has a
see.
stop bead, and there's probably like a 3 to 4 inch gap between the mullion and the glass.
it's where a mullion doesn't meet the wall is where there's the cavity. That particular space, I don't believe there's a cavity, but if the wall meets in the middle of a glazing panel, then there's a space. So it just needs to be, some type of a detail.
Yeah.
It'd be nice if we could just pull up the detail on the structural or the detail drawings. If that's available, at a subsequent meeting, I guess.
Yeah, why don't we find that and then we'll pull it up and
Yeah.
review it before, that way. 'cause
That's
it'll
all I
take a
had.
minute.
So we can look at that Wednesday.
Yeah.
So Rick, just to update you on Kevin's concerns for the electrical and the mezzanine, we had a rough inspection this morning. So that wiring, I know it was only Thursday or Friday, we got here Wednesday, whatever, but it's made some headway since then. And
We're not waiting on anything electrical wise gear or anything, right?
switch gears in,
Yeah, so
switch gears in place, boiler
So-
went in today. Well, I guess
I
it's-
think as far as like, if we think about the critical path where they're at and getting those inspections, we're in pretty good shape because they can do their thing as other finishes are going on. If they're holding up drywall and stuff, then
right,
that's
well, they
critical
won't
path,
now.
then other people can't get their stuff done. So based on the latest update that, from those inspections up there, I think we're in pretty good shape.
And like I said,
yeah.
that was Kevin's concern. I
Yeah.
just only brought it up because he asked me to. That's all.
It was the electrical and then what else?
The same thing as I had the concern with the cavity in between the.
Okay, right, yeah, correct. And, to your point, the grouting began.
Oh, good.
It started, they did the vehicle wash bay, the maintenance bay today, so those are all grouted in. I don't know if you saw the email Tony sent over, but I tried to send some pictures.
Well, that's good. It just would have been certainly easier to do 3 months ago.
Yeah,
So, getting done. That's a good thing. Thank you.
All right.
The window
Um,
coverings, did you? Frank, the window coverings?
Yeah, we talked about the window treatments. What are we doing for the windows in the building?
So I think Dave raised a concern about having his computer visible from the outside of the building.
There's just no, it's just a plain see-through glass. There's no, even the sun coming up is gonna glare right through all that glass and right into the offices and everything. So there's no coverings to make it a little shade so you can see your computer. other
Nothing like
than-
that?
Yeah, like something like that.
We don't have any
Built in?
inside window treatments? I can't imagine that.
No, it doesn't sound right.
Like what they
Part
do
of
to cars.
package, the interior.
You know,
feature.
Right.
Those, where they,
You have to have
We had a
it.
slight concern. All
Yeah,
the ones had to be
Huh?
put the-
Yeah, I think they.
I remember well.
just ordered 10.
We also had gunmetal blue, as I remember.
Front corner of office,
Did we order?
there's so much glass, you can't.
You can't get away from.
Just here and if somebody
It's
could
just to
stand
keep,
right behind
it's
you.
to keep you awake and alert, Dave.
Yeah.
But sometimes you
Well,
can't even see a
but
screen.
Also the sun, too.
Right.
I mean,
Can-
the sun really starts beating through the
Can we
windows.
get
Lots of vitamin D.
material and have it, you know, how they put them on cars, don't they, like, whatever they do?
Oh, I see.
Well, the architect said the windows are tinted so during
Oh,
the
no,
day,
no,
you
no.
can't see inside from outside.
So-
You can't.
What about
I
if you have
can see-
lights
I
on?
can see it into that front office clear as day, like my office right now.
Well, we,
How about
I
if you have
can
lights
see
on
It's gonna be
Huh?
filled in.
at night? Gonna see,
You're not
Yeah.
getting too much, right?
No, but
It's
sitting
right
in my
in the
office where I am right now, I can look out the side window and look
Oh,
clear right
okay.
through where, like, say, the secretary, lava, and see everybody working clear as day, even with the sun as bright as it was today.
This
Glad
picture.
they're working.
yeah.
They're working.
Before I did, very good.
So I sent these out some.
No, I don't see why we can't get that, like when they tint windows to a car. you can- I don't know how many windows you have to tint.
No, I wouldn't tint the windows anymore than they are. Yeah.
Oh, all right, they're
They
already
can,
tinted?
they can
Oh, yeah.
run an acoustic strip.
So what's Dave
Yeah.
talking about?
Even if it's on both
The
sides.
windows are
Did it have to
very
be-
tinted, it's
make
just a
it
matter of
flush?
like, if you wanna have a shade, they can pull down.
Oh,
Right.
okay.
So we can get a PCO for shades.
That would have been all.
We can do it through Page, or
Yeah.
we can do it on, under FF&E and not have a markup.
Yeah.
That's
So I would suggest that's the way.
We've
we go.
worked with
FF&E.
a bunch of different
Yeah.
people, and we'll get them to come in, that you can pick whatever fabrics you
And my-
want. You can
every
put
office right now
shades or
wants
mini
it.
blinds.
Well, Bruce, if the ones are a little narrow, you can take some of these and cut them down.
I don't like the
Interfere with the opening of the window?
So do you want to vote of the committee to move forward with that? Or-
Let's, I
We did
think,
say we're gonna table it to the committee, so.
certainly we need to refer this to the working group to make sure we have window treatment provisions so that the environment is appropriate. They need shade and they need, there should be a privacy screen. I know there isn't gonna be much around there, but, you know, the windows.
Sounds like Peg McGilvery.
Don't go there.
This meeting's being recorded, so.
Sorry.
So,
Oh, she made a big deal
all
about it.
right, so we know that's gonna be addressed. Fair point, Dave.
Yep.
You don't want any motorized shades anywhere, do you?
No.
We need to know that.
Yeah, we definitely don't.
I just bought the best shades for my living room. They're out of that fabric,
Yeah,
but they're not the chain and they're not a spring. You simply just, there's a clip on the front, you just push them up,
Hunter
push them
Douglas.
down. No,
That's Hunter Douglas. They do that.
no, they're unbelievable. My husband said, why didn't we do the other one that way with those
I
shades?
remember when my wife came home and told me she bought a shade for $1,000. I choked.
A shade
Yeah.
for $1,000? No.
I said, "Is it gold?"
Yeah.
They're expensive. They're wide windows, so they're custom made, but they are nice.
That's how it is. Wow.
Do you
All
want
right.
to talk about the next meeting?
Yes.
Anything else?
Next meeting.
Talk about what, Rick?
So it's
Next
the second
meeting.
Monday in the month.
Second Monday, which would be
April 14th.
Bruce has some business.
uh,
I had a couple, new items,
okay.
relatively minor, I think. But Kevin I talked to Kevin about it one bit. Cage shelving I already brought up. We talked about, the reception area, the counter. And I talked to Mike about this briefly to see if there's anything they could do with it. So apparently the outside of where the public comes in is only like 5 to 6 inches of counter. And inside is 2 feet. And that 5 to 6 inches, I mean, we typically have people come in, they're filling out forms and stuff like that. 6 inches, like,
Not enough.
doesn't seem like enough room for somebody to even put their elbow down and try to write on a piece of paper.
There's not even enough room to make change.
So, I don't know if it's possible
We'll have to look
to,
at that.
so that's, if it's, what I'm told, it was 2 feet on the outside and approximately 6 inches on the outside. So,
Well, let's bring that to the work group to address and
It might be designed that way because of allowable ADA space in the foyer. as
Could be.
well. So
Could
you can't just make a decision. You really have to explore the possibility that.
Well, that's what I'm doing here, is exploring it, because I just think like that's, like even Lonnie brought up, like some woman brings in a pocketbook and then she wants to set it down and
So we'll
We
bring,
put a little
we'll bring that up
table.
Wednesday with the architect and the work group and see what we
and
see what we have to work with.
the other just item, just curious about is the cement block inside the, building, the inside interior block is being painted. Do we know what color that's being painted? Because I was told it was white.
Pink.
Pink.
I think it is a uniform, like vanilla white, if I recall.
Gives you more light.
Brighter,
Yeah.
reflective.
Okay. To me, anything like 4 or 5 feet up, you would think would be like maybe a. Well,
You mean
like it's
a
gonna-
marking cover?
Like
Yeah.
a dirt,
Gonna get dirty.
Oh, like-
Oh,
like a
If
drawing
you
color?
have a light color like the color of these
Do you know
walls and the
the
hallways,
steel?
Get
that's
dirty, right?
concrete.
The steel that's painted, that like sort of like tan brownish color, would you prefer something like that?
Taupe or
I was thinking like battleship gray or something dark, and then like even 5 feet up. I don't know. I'm just saying.
Something that goes
and then
all
the
those
top
colors.
is
There we go.
top is a lighter color, white.
No,
up,
how about the
lighten up
small
the
swatch?
room.
There's your color.
I don't think that's
No, that's
no.
that's the desktop.
that's the furniture.
This is the furniture.
Oh, you can match your furniture.
Yeah.
There's some more
That
pictures
color,
on the back
Frank.
too, I think.
Even like that.
Watch your water. Watch your water
Talking
there.
about painting it, right?
Oh, look at that. There's gray walls there, Bruce.
Typically,
Guaranteed.
Did Pete tell you that?
Typically,
That's
they
it, it was painted
specify-
white.
like an epoxy paint. It's
Yeah.
durable.
Melissa said that. she heard it.
You know, in the 60s, it was all multicolor. Everything was sprayed with multicolor lacquer.
I guess we could just roll over it
Later.
with paint roller.
The scuff marks.
Isn't that
It's
already
gonna get
established
scuffed up.
for color?
It is, but
We
we
can
could bring
find
it
out
up.
at the next meeting.
We could bring it up. Maybe there'll be a suggestion of maybe they've done like maybe you could do the upper part of the wall
Lighter.
that color,
Yeah.
and do like almost like a
Chair rail.
like a
or-
chair rail type detail. Not necessarily a chair rail, but yeah, put it up. Different color, a darker color that'll keep it
Yeah.
kind of light and.
What do you think? Just because people walking by are going to be
Oh, everything. They're gonna be
kicking
carrying
it, they're
shovels,
The-
boots, anything that they're carrying in and out of those hallways around anywhere. It's just gonna scuff up the walls, and if it's a light colored paint.
like,
So we could pre-scuff them.
Make it part of the look.
Never mind.
wainscoting.
We talked about any other miscellaneous metals though, I know.
Is that it?
Oh, and the last thing is, I was also told to get pricing on a forklift. The mezzanine is 14 feet 2 inches, something like that. So we don't have anything that will reach that. So if the intention ever is to put anything up there that has any weight that you don't want to carry up the stairs, 14 feet. I was told just to get some pricing on forklifts that will reach that, just something small. They have a front end loader that has a forklift attachment, but it only reaches 12'6".
Right. Remember
when we brought the,
Where would you
Big
keep it in the
screen.
garage?
That sounds good for them.
yeah, it would stay in the garage.
Just like what I had. in-
I looked at electric ones, battery operated,
Like four
smaller
of them
ones that
in my
will
house.
reach that. They don't have to have a
Go.
huge weight capacity.
Um,
They're quite pricey.
twice the height. of
I have
it.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah, so what's going up there that you need a lift that you can't carry up the stairs?
Do tires go?
Certain valves, anything that we haven't really.
Well, I mean, have you established what's going where? I think maybe that's,
Well, there's going to be shelving up there, but we haven't established what exactly is going to go up there.
I would think that valves would stay on the first floor and lighter things would go up.
Why don't we just see at the end of the project and see what we have possibly left to maybe
There's gonna be
get?
plenty of space over there in the front.
Yeah, it's just you get the delivery of a pallet or something. and
Yeah,
we're gonna
I think-
break down the pallet and carry it up the stairs.
Please tell me.
Hang on a second. I think what we have to do, is figure out what is most likely going to be up there and then address the need based on that. I mean, if we need a forklift, it would be stupid not to get one.
Right.
If we don't need that space for something that would require that kind of equipment, it would be smart not to spend it. But you're talking, I don't know, $70,000-$80,000?
No.
No.
So, a propane powered forklift,
Inside?
yeah, inside. I like the electric ideas better, they plug in, but many people run propane inside, they run clean. This company has, it's $28,000, but they also have a 2022 model in stock for $18,900.
All right, let's bump this to the work group, but let's come up with a
Storage plan.
storage plan on what's gonna be up there and what kind of weight class we're talking about.
Okay, and just to throw this other one out there, the electric, similar height and weight specs, 39,000.
Yeah, I'm not crazy about propane inside finished
Yeah,
buildings.
They run clean.
Yeah, they have a reconditioned version of that.
Tell my brother-in-law that, he lost a leg in it.
They have a 2021 reconditioned
Why did
version
he
of
stick
that.
his foot in the
23
propane tank?
It blew up.
Doing research.
23 now.
Well, we had battery operated ones at the
I-
warehouse.
When I was a kid, I worked in Prentice Hall, we had all kinds of electric forklifts and Raymonds and everything else you could think of.
They were all battery operated.
Yep.
So
Charge
those-
at night.
The only other thing, just throw, if you are going with an electric one, if that's a possibility, we should probably know now what kind of charging it
Yep.
uses, so if you have to rough in a pipe.
Yeah,
or
bring it out to
something.
the car charger.
Yeah. Parking outside. Yeah, that's all.
Yeah.
A lot of
It just
them
would look
plug
silly,
into a regular
like 2
plug
years
or
from now, I'm at
220
town meeting, putting in for a forklift so
Capital.
we can reach the mezzanine.
You didn't think about that at
Yeah.
all?
I know the first question's gonna be, well, why the hell did you put it up there?
I would think as at a DPW maintenance garage, you'd have to find uses for it,
I would
Right.
think so.
like doing certain work. with
Even
trucks or
not
whatever.
necessarily 14
Pull
feet
something
high.
up,
Moving
or
plow blades around inside the
transmission or
building.
something,
Yeah.
I don't know.
We need a
One plow blade is.
I mean, so every time you buy a truck, you get a spare tire.
Okay, anything else, Bruce?
No, that's all.
Anyone else have anything?
Next meeting's April 14th.
Yeah,
Oh,
So we
is
got
that what we're looking at?
Second Monday in April, yep.
Hey,
We need a motion.
when's Easter?
April 14th?
No, it's the 21st or
Easter is the
something.
20th.
Oh,
Yeah, it's the
good,
end of the
it's
month.
not Easter week, I just
No.
wanna make sure of that.
No,
So what are we doing, April 14th? or 20th?
Yes,
April 14th.
14th.
Can we call Frank a half hour before the meeting?
sure.
David,
Call me anything you want.
The invite, I think, says 5:30 for the meeting. I don't,
It does.
it does say 5:30, right? Yeah.
That's, was our starting time, wasn't it? 5:30?
No, it's 5.
No, Capital's 5:30, we're 5.
Oh, okay.
We're 5.
Who sent the meeting notice out?
Does it say?
Oh, well.
This was like my first.
So I was on time, right?
No.
All right, there's no further business, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? We're done.
Bye.